Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome to the preview show where we have a look at everything coming up in boxing this week. And we've got a big one this weekend. It's Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez on the card. And if that's not enough, you got Canelo Alvarez in Saudi Arabia, Martin Bakole, and then if that's not enough, in Vegas, it's of course pound for pound champ Naoya Inoue. Wow, I'm almost out of breath from that preview, and we're going to be out of breath by the end of this weekend because that is some card. We've also got an undisputed title fight to talk about at the end of the episode, so stick around for that. You probably know what it is already, but if you don't, then make sure you stick around for the end and make sure you subscribe for lots of great content every week, 2 podcasts a week, all that good stuff. Straight into the action. Ryan Garcia back in the ring. Main eventing. How long ago after he served Devin Haney a few left hands? It's going to be an interesting fight.
When did he fight?
April last year. Yeah.
Was it April?
Was it a year ago?
I think it was April last year.
Let's have a look. Let's double check. Let's do our research. It was, the no contest was, 20th April last year. Fair play. Good knowledge. Bro-nose glove. It's going to be interesting because obviously Ryan Garcia comes off the back of what actually genuinely was, albeit a no contest, a phenomenal performance where we all had him, in doubt. And he's fighting a decent, albeit slightly irritating to hear punch fighter in Rolly Romero. It's going to be a good fight, I think.
I was going to do it then, honestly.
That one.
Yeah. But...
Oh, is he that one?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Even though
I'm not going to pay for it now.
down as a no contest, you can't forget the absolute battering.
Yeah, but
Devin Haney.
But the argument is though, he was juiced up and all that, weren't he?
But
come on,
he's a fat stripper. It's not juiced up. He's not gone.
I think what didn't help him in that last fight last year was his antics beforehand. I think that's where everyone was like,
calmed down though, at least.
Yeah,
definitely.
But he's calmed down because he's main eventing in bloody Times Square.
It's that left hook. I think Ryan Garcia's got one of the best punches in boxing with that left hook.
Yeah. I think he's one of the fastest boxers as well.
It's like you hear people speak about it and they're just like, you can't even teach it. It's just natural. Like, he doesn't even know how he does it himself. No. It's just the way he can just wind it up, and that was what caused Haney issues, and I think it'll cause a lot of fighters issues going forward as well because it's such a good punch he can throw.
Yeah, and it's people to say like, just keep your right hand up and you'll be fine. But then he's still got an equally powerful right hand. It's just the fact that he can whip out that left hand so quickly and so sharp and with such power that, it causes people problems. And like you mentioned it, we haven't even really touched on that already. It's in Times Square. How on earth is that going to work? It's in Times Square.
Set out. I think they're only expecting like
200,
less than 200 people to be there.
That's unreal. Imagine being one of the 200, mind.
Well, that's the thing though. 200 around the ring, but if it's in Times Square, surely they haven't shut down the entirety of Times Square.
In the middle
of
Times Square on a Friday, people in work,
absolute carnage.
It's just going to be people watching from everywhere.
I think
it'll be like a video game.
Yeah.
Well, you've seen the trailer.
Yeah.
I love the trailer. I think the trailer is brilliant with them going through the different billboards and different stories. But no, it's good to see that Garcia's back in the ring. Obviously, last time he was in the ring, there was a lot of controversy, and for him to be main eventing, there's a lot of people questioning whether he should be given this opportunity and all that. But I think without Ryan Garcia, I think boxing would be a boring place. I think he's very entertaining inside the ring and outside the ring. But I don't think, with all the respect in the world to Rolly Romero, I don't think he causes Garcia many problems on Friday night. I think Garcia is that sort of fighter, like you talked about, with his pace and all that. He throws a jab, but it's a double jab. And you just think, what the hell? Where the hell did that come from? And I just think, it's just for Garcia now. You can tell what they're doing. They're building up with this card they've put together. They're building up for Haney Garcia 2 later in the year, and I'm all for that. But no, it's just great to see him back in the ring. He served his ban, if he did serve a ban at all. I think Garcia's the sort of fighter that only needs to fight 2 times a year because he can get the money for his fights. But no, it's great to see him back. And for Devin Haney, I think, it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts from that defeat that he had, because that's going to...
I think he's got to put in a good performance this weekend.
But he does also have that kind of get-out-of-jail-free card, doesn't he, where he kind of says that Ryan Garcia with the coming in overweight, and there was.
It was a no contest.
There was stuff. Yeah, it was put down as a no contest. So in his head, he could justify. He's like, I still won't get beaten by a man unless they're cheating. Is how he'll see it in his head, and so I think he can move past that one. And if it makes him a bit more of a smarter fighter, because he, like you say, he just seriously ate left hands that whole fight. Then he might be for the better for it. But interestingly, you've got Ryan Garcia's fighting up at welterweight in this one, and his only loss comes down at lightweight against Tank. And you saw when you looked at him in that fight, he was.
Did Tank stop him?
He proper battered him, and he just like you say, he looked drained. He looked small, and he looked huge against Devin Haney in that first fight. And Devin Haney's considered a weight bully.
The reasoning why he looked huge was he missed weight considerably by a big margin, weren't it?
Yeah, but
they agreed to get in there with him knowing that he was.
Yeah, I know. No, I know that. I'm not saying that.
But this at welterweight is going to be an even bigger Ryan Garcia and an even stronger Ryan Garcia, and maybe it might be too slow, and you that might not have the balance. But it would be interesting to see. And
I think it'd be a good fight to watch. Romero can bang, so
he can talk as well when he's fighting. Can't he?
Any issues.
Yeah, irritating, but yeah, it is those two, and then you've obviously got what we like in boxing. You've got those narratives, isn't it? When you got that third fight coming up, and you've got Haney Garcia set up ready pretty much afterwards. So if they can both get through this one,
they both got to win. I think they do win on Friday, but Haney is in a fight as well. I think could play into his hands to make him look quite good as well. With Ramirez, was someone who's very much he's one of those fighters who'll just chase you around. And Haney, with his probably what would be superior boxing skills, should look good. And I think needs to look good because, I don't know, as much as he probably wants to make out he's a star and his father wants to make out he's a star, everyone fucking hates him.
If you have to say you're a star, you're not a star. Yeah. If you have to tell people that you're a mega star,
that's too much ego.
You're not a star. He's a big fighter. He's a big name. And people know who he is, and if he does fight, people do have an interest in it.
But he's not the interest of we want to see him lose?
Quite possibly, yeah. Especially he's mental, right? After that Ryan Garcia fight, Ryan Garcia, the antics, everything, the build up, all the stuff he was saying and tweeting and losing his mind, and having a beer on the scales and all this carnage.
Apple cider.
And yet, even after that, he was still the more likeable man than Devin Haney by the masses.
Do you know the thing that I don't get? Devin Haney hasn't boxed since April last year.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Well,
he didn't have to serve a ban, did he?
He did have a broken jaw.
I know, but true. I didn't know that. All right, then.
It was proper. So
in the fight, he broke his jaw in the fight.
Yeah, did you not see it? It was like out here. It was proper.
Mate, that was last year. I can't remember what I did yesterday.
I don't want to be rushing too quickly, get in the ring after. A couple of left hooks.
And I think he probably knew as well that this sort of opportunity would come around.
I just can't believe, like you said, Times Square, and you've got Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. Imagine if that was the main event, mind.
Yeah. But even Teofimo Lopez, Barboza Jr., which we haven't even mentioned on, that is a good fight.
That's very much a 50-50, I would have thought.
I think so, yeah. I think Teofimo Lopez...
That's the hardest one to call on.
Teofimo Lopez has obviously been at the level a little longer than Barboza Jr. at the top level. But he's also proven that he's certainly not indestructible at that level, and he's probably the sort of bottom end of the top fighters in that division. And Barboza Jr. beat Jack Catterall in his backyard, and
this could have been Jack Catterall's.
And that in itself is very impressive. That he's now gonna come into this fight. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one to call. I think this is the one that's the 50-50 on this card for me.
Yeah. Barboza's difficult to call. And he's been calling for a long time for a shot at one of the champions or a big fight, and this is his opportunity now, so he's not going to want to let it pass him by, is he? And if he can win on Friday night to pick up that world title, it puts him in, he's 32-0, you don't get that fight he's a very good fighter and could cause Lopez a lot of issues on Friday night. To be a really good fight to watch, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll stick around to the end, or do stick around to the end. We'll obviously still be here for the predictions, where we're doing the predictions on the Boxing News app for that card, as well as, of course, none other than Canelo Alvarez versus William Scull for the undisputed super middleweight title. That's a great fight because we get to see Canelo Alvarez go undisputed. And people are discounting William Scull, obviously battered by Conor Benn in sparring.
I don't like that narrative.
No, it's a load of crap. But that it certainly isn't a good look if it was a good fight. But Canelo is one of those fighters. It doesn't really matter who he's in there with, is it? People will still tune in. And even better, but we don't have to pay about $80 to watch him.
Look at just the promoters of this event, though. He's the promoter.
Yeah,
he runs boxing in a way that no other boxer really does. I think Canelo Alvarez. He can turn up and fight Ben, and there'll be still a sold-out MGM arena.
He'd be in trouble then, wouldn't he?
He would be, but what I mean is, you wouldn't be able to fill out the MGM, but he fighting someone like you could just. It's just incredible, and for him to be fighting the first time out of like Mexico and America, outside of North America for the first time, it's mind-blowing because I always thought he has, but to be fighting someone like William Scull for Undisputed, I think it's the perfect fight for Canelo Alvarez. I think a lot of people are saying now that he's reached his peak and he's on his way down, but to fight again to get the Undisputed title, it would be some achievement. And let's not discredit William Scull. I think from what I've seen of Alvarez in the last couple of fights, he starts slowly, it's all about taking in the information and working out your opponent. And then once you get past round 4, he's like, right, I've got you now. You've had those 4 rounds and I'm going to absolutely destroy you now. And yeah, I'm just happy to see him out again. His last fight against Edgar Berlanga, I thought we were going to see him get the stoppage win. Berlanga, looked decent, caused him some issues. But again, it goes back to that sort of Alvarez working out his opponent. And I think he's going to do exactly the same with Scull. But for Scull, what an opportunity. Main event on a Riyadh season card, probably the biggest payday of his life. And to fight someone like Canelo Alvarez is probably something to tick off the bucket list for a fighter like Scull. But let's not forget as well, he's a world champion.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are forgetting about that. And, all right, he hasn't fought the names of Canelo Alvarez. You're looking through that list, unrecognisable, some of the names. But it's still going to be a very entertaining fight and an entertaining card. Jaime Munguia, Bruno Saras. Oh,
that's a really interesting fight.
Such a good fight.
The Bakole fight that should have been for the IBF, we're getting that one again.
Well, yeah.
Badu Jack.
But I think for Munguia
How long has it been since Badu Jack?
Since the Tommy Fury, Jake Paul.
Undercard.
So years ago.
Yeah,
2023. February 2023.
Yeah, against...
But they're both... fun fact, that fight, they're both coming in...
Is that Makabu or Tony Bellew beat for his world title?
I can't remember, to be honest. I think so, yeah. But he's had such an interesting career, Badu Jack. He's obviously moved up from like middleweight, super middleweight, now up to cruiserweight, and he's been the WBC champion without fighting for a while.
That's something I don't like. He's been, he hasn't fought since February of 2023. And he's still a world champion.
That is outrageous.
Because you compare that to the heavyweight division with Alexander Usyk having to vacate his belts for Dubois and all that. I think something's gone wrong there. But he's in for a tough test, I think. Both of them are coming into that fight without the activity probably needed. I want to say his opponent hasn't fought since 2023 as well. So, yeah, a bit of ring rust there. But the fight for me on that card is Jaime Munguia against Bruno Saras. Munguia drops Saras early in the first fight that they had in Tijuana. And then out of nowhere, like a shot from the gods, Saras just eliminates him, really, knocks him out completely. And he literally caused the upset of the year. And that's a great fight because I think Munguia, obviously now training with Alvarez as well, I think we're going to see a different sort of fighter there. And, Bruno Saras is probably thinking, I'd get another opportunity at this. And from what I've heard and what I've read, he's been an absolute pain in the butt in this rematch, and I can't blame him. He's A-side.
He should, yeah.
He should be demanding, right, if you want to have a rematch with me, you're going to be having to pay top dollar, and fair play to him if he's, it's probably another big payday for him, probably the biggest of his career. For him to step back in there against Munguia, you've got to give him full credit because he probably believes in a way that a lot of people looking from the outside in is probably calling it an upset. He's probably thinking it wasn't an upset. I trained, that was the biggest fight of my life in Mexico. I was an away fight and I just wanted to prove a lot of people wrong, and he did. He's probably thinking I'm favourite in this fight, and I think that's a bit like that Lopez Barboza Jr. I think that's the sort of fight on this card that you can just flip a coin and whoever it lands on go with. But yeah, great fight. And it's the same with Martin Bakole as well, because he's coming off a stoppage loss.
Yeah, and but the circumstances around that are
completely different among gears.
See Bakole come in off a full camp because him against Joseph Parker obviously is not the best version of Bakole. So just a shame for him that this isn't now it's not a mandatory position.
No, for the IBF.
It would have been, so he's got to work his way back towards that, but another good fight to watch on the weekend.
Yeah, all African clash, heavyweight. I don't particularly rate Jagba. I'm the same as you, but I think what you're talking about, what you're really saying then is you only want someone like Bakole to fight someone.
Exactly. No, that's what I mean. No one wants to fight Bakole
because he's not going to get the Usyk fight for obvious reasons. He's not going to get the Dubois fight for obvious reasons. AJ looking for the Fury fight for obvious reasons. Caballel's just come off the back of a really tough fight and a big win. Moses Atoma's not going to have that fight. Fabio Wardley's tied up. The guys up at the top of that division now,
I get it,
are occupied elsewhere. And Afia Jagba, in terms of fighters, is kind of just on the outside of that and probably the best fight for him at this point.
Yeah, no. But the only thing that I don't like about it is Afia Jagba when he fought that Vianello. He didn't win that fight.
It wasn't like a robbery, though.
I think it was.
It wasn't a robbery. He probably didn't win it, but it was a close fight that he lost, that he got the decision on. But it wasn't like, oh my God, how on earth has he won that?
But again, what an opportunity for a Jagba mind. He's probably thinking, bloody hell, how have I ended up here? People were doubting me in that Vianello fight afterwards, like, oh, can he reach the heights? If he pulls off what would be a massive upset against Bakole, he's going to be... his trajectory up to the top, he'd be in the top 10 then, and he'd be knocking on the door of people like Parker, like Dubois and all that, and it would be great to see. But no, Martin Bakole, he's not called the boogeyman in the heavyweight division for no reason. He is something that, if you're a fighter that wants to get a world title fight and you have to go through Bakole, if you're the promoter, you're doing everything you possibly can to just go around him and just avoid him to get that level, because he's the fighter that, after this fight, who does he fight? There's so many fights out there, and I would love to see him against Chisora because I think that's just pure chaos. But
I'd like to see him against Caballel.
Yeah, I can see it in Germany. I think the rumours are that there's meant to be a big fight card in Germany. Him and Zhang in China could be or even fight in his home country. He's a big, big star there.
Yeah, but I think realistically, Saudi Arabia is going to be the home for Bakole because... Yeah. He doesn't necessarily have that huge following in the UK. He's not a big enough name in the States. No. Saudi Arabia makes sense for him because he's a top quality fighter without necessarily having the name to match it. So, yeah, interesting stuff. And then, like we said, we were saying before, Marco Verde, Olympic silver medalist in Paris.
Fan-friendly fighter.
It's nice to see those Olympians now coming through, and I'm looking forward to seeing his performance. It's probably going to be a comfortable win.
A stoppage win, I think.
You'd hope so.
No, but I mean by stoppage win, he's coming from the amateur ranks, but as an amateur, when I watched him at the Paris Olympics...
He's quite pro-friendly, yeah.
Very pro-friendly, and I'm looking forward to that. And then Brian Leon as well, 100% knockout winning record he's got, and it's just a great card, that is. And
I think they're bringing Mo Alakil on the card as well, which is... I'm interested to see him because... I want to know how good he will or won't be, and it's so. But the difference between his first and second performance was so drastic. It's kind of like, oh, hang on a minute, could he be all right, or is he just, going to continue fighting journeyman in Saudi Arabia, which no one really wants to see, do they? And then, do you know what?
That's not enough.
I haven't had enough boxing yet. And so of course I need Naoya Inoue in Vegas. Fighting Ramon Cardenas, great, good fighter at that level. And Naoya Inoue is... You do that again. Who are we going to match against Naoya Inoue? Exactly. Are you really saying that the Ahmed Aliyev fight is this magic fight?
This is what people are saying. This isn't my opinion, but people online are saying Inoue shouldn't be fighting Cardenas.
So who should he be fighting?
Exactly. No one wants to fight him, and there's no one out there for him to fight that's of a certain name.
Yeah, the realistically... The only fighters that are near Inoue for ability are at, I was going to say featherweight, but even then I think he probably, if he can get the weight right, there's no reason why anyone should cause him any major upsets at featherweight. And then you've got Bam Rodriguez, who obviously the weight disparity is too high that wouldn't make sense for Bam to come up for him. He is just too good.
Well, he's in the top 2 pound for pound, I think.
So I think to say it's not as bad.
I'm happy to see him. I'm just thinking this fight isn't competitive at all. Inoue, I don't think we're doing our predictions on this card, so I can say it. I think Inoue absolutely gets him out of there within the distance easily.
Got a big win against Brian Acosta in his last fight, an undefeated fight. He's a decent super bantamweight, just outside the top 10, but he's not.
Espinosa Vasquez, though, on the end, that's the fight of the card, I think.
Yeah.
And then the other one as well, Nakano Mendina. Watch out for that. I think that's opening the card on ESPN. Just watch out for that. I think that Nakano is something very special. And he's coming up against someone who's very tough in Medina. So that's my fight. That's my fight to watch on that card.
First time Inoue's fighting outside of Japan in
Glasgow.
Since Glasgow.
Yeah,
I thought it was since COVID. I think in COVID he was in Vegas, though, wasn't he?
No, I don't think so.
I swear.
We'll double check it.
Feels like it's been a long.
We'll have a look.
What year was that, though?
Vegas in 2021. Yeah.
Man, I know glove.
Bro, he does seriously know glove. You got to respect it. Yeah, it's Inoue again, similar to Canelo. He's one of those fights. I just like to watch him.
Yeah.
I just want to see him fight. I don't really care who he's fighting. This is a better fight than his last fight was, obviously with the pullouts.
Miles better.
So
you can always that last fight that he had, whoever he was fighting on Sunday night would be better than that.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
It wasn't a great fight.
We'll play the stoppage prediction game. What round?
Oh, I like that. That's a good little way to say it.
Round 6.
5.
Quicker than me.
2.
Okay. We'll have to see who's closest there. And while we're on the talk of predictions, it's time to whip out the boxing
Best time of the week.
Any idea who won last week, guys? Any idea?
Shut up,
No. I didn't even put mine in. I don't.
Oh yeah, of course.
I didn't even know we were playing
I'm on. I don't know if there's anyone who actually wants to verify this, but I am on a shit hot streak at the moment. You lot are getting cooked. 2025.
Look at them.
I had
too big for his boots.
bonus points off saying that Chris Eubank Senior was going to turn up.
I don't think that was on there, mate. If it wasn't on, if you didn't say, as you famously said, if it wasn't said on the podcast, you can't.
Yeah, but hang on, I make predictions on the podcast that come true, and then sometimes I get accused of not making them.
Oh, I've just realised I've already put my predictions.
I have as well.
So you can't even.
Why have you done that?
Well, I'm going to say it, but
How do you think
you come prepared, mate?
Boring. Anyway, Devin Haney.
What are we doing? Okay.
We'll do the American card first, and then we'll do Canelo. Devin Haney, Jose Carlos Ramirez, welterweight 12 rounder. What have you gone for, Ben?
I have gone for Haney by decision.
Yep, same.
Same.
Yeah, that one was always going to be an easy one.
This one splits us.
Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza Jr. Harry, what are you going for?
I like the momentum that Barboza Jr.'s got. I think he's carrying it. He had a great win away in Manchester against Jack Catterall. And I think he gets the point decision win in a split decision. Yeah.
I've gone for a point decision win as well for Barboza.
Oh, we've all gone.
Oh, wow. Have we actually? Oh, for God's sake. And then the main event.
Brilliant.
Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero.
I was sure you two were going to go for Lopez.
Nah. For this one, I'm going to go for... It's Garcia KO is probably the most likely.
Yeah, Garcia KO. Correct.
Is that what you're going for?
Yeah. We're all exactly the same.
That's really boring, isn't it? That is really boring.
Right. I'll make sure I'll go different than on the Canelo
I've
card.
gone for Scull to beat Canelo Alvarez.
Oh, yeah, of course. Right, let me find the Canelo fight. Obviously, if you guys want to, you can play along with us on the Boxing News app. We're not sponsored or... you should be. So let's get the Canelo card up all the way down to the bottom. Marco Verde, Michelle Galvin, Paulina. Harry, you've already put your card on the table for this one.
Marco Verde gets his professional career up and running with an emphatic knockout victory in the 3rd round.
I agree around all the other stuff. I think he'll get a knockout win.
I've gone for a decision win.
Ooh, I like it. So there will be a winner. Well, unless it's me and you
on this card, yeah.
Brian Leon versus Aaron Rocha Guerrero.
I think we all know what we're all going for, yeah. Continuing
I've gone for Leon points.
Have you actually?
First time he's going the distance as a
I'm going for a knockout.
Yep, Leon by knockout.
And then Martin Bakole. I've gone for a knockout.
I've gone for a knockout with Bakole.
Yeah, Bakole knockout, yeah. I was going to do something very stupid.
Now, this is maybe the interesting one from your point of view. Jaime Munguia versus Bruno Saras.
I would love for Saras to win, but I think Munguia gets it on the decision. But I think it could be controversial.
What are you going for?
I've gone Munguia decision.
This is really boring because I've gone for the same thing.
I think he wins.
I think he just showed... No, I've gone different on this just to be less boring. just to be like, ooh.
Oh, what, on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Badu Jack versus Noel Mikelian. What are you going for? Benjamin?
Badu Jack points decision.
Badu Jack points.
I'm going Noel points decision, just to be different, because I don't want to be boring.
I like how you called him Noel. That was clever there. You avoided pronouncing the surname. And then
Come on, Noel.
Saul Alvarez versus William Scull. It's a Canelo points decision.
Yeah.
I've gone stoppage.
When was the last time Canelo Alvarez had a stoppage win? Was it Caleb Plant?
It was Caleb Plant, yeah.
Yeah, Canelo Alvarez by decision I've gone for.
Fair enough. So these are all very similar. It suggests it might be a little bit of a boring weekend of boxing.
No, I think it's going to be really
It's going to be great.
I don't think it will, but
I like the bundle.
all of our predictions being similar does suggest that.
We've got the best fight of the weekend as well. Firefighter against police officer,
course your thing,
which I thought I was making up for some reason.
Yeah,
What team are we? Team NYPD or we?
No? Firefighter.
Or fire service aren't
Okay.
we yet?
Okay. I'll be NYPD to be
Insert
different.
the anti-police song here that I'm not going to sing, so we don't get
We
demonetised.
just walk downstairs and there just be a load of coppers.
Yeah, one of them ones. And do you know what? We haven't talked enough about high-level boxing today, so what we're going to do is just make it a bit more interesting to talk about Usyk Dubois. Undisputed heavyweight title fight in Wembley Stadium in July.
Wow. Stuff.
You just can't beat it, really.
We're getting undisputed title fights every weekend now.
It seems like it at the minute,
We're getting too greedy. I think we're eating so good as boxing fans.
Oh, big time.
I loved on Monday when they did that face-off at Wembley. Out of nowhere, Dubois just pushes him, and I'm thinking, what are you doing?
It's so odd. Such strange behaviour.
Surely he's been told to do that, Dubois.
There's a nice bit of tension building already between the two teams on it. Whether they're trying to do that just to sell it or...
The problem is, though, Dubois did push him, and then Usyk kind of went like that, and Dubois was like, proper flinched out of it, and it was like, oh, come on now, you can't push somebody and then not back the beef. But
it was just Usyk's laugh.
Yeah. He just it was strange. But as a fight,
I don't know why they're trying to like push Dubois as some sort of like.
Have you seen what Dev Sani's put on Twitter?
Like, just leave him be.
I'll get that now.
But what do you make of it as a fight, Usyk Dubois?
It's interesting because they're obviously going to build it around the whole low blow situation.
I'm going to get really tired of that whole low blow.
It's what they're building it all around in it. Like, it's inevitable. That's what you're going to hear about. Like, Frank Warren be like, he beat you just... But realistically, you're probably looking at it more than likely Usyk turns up and boxes his head off again as he does with everyone.
Team Queensbury are building up the hype now for Dubois to cause a massive upset by putting this out. Daniel Dubois' best 3 wins before Usyk won. Nathan Gorman, Kevin Lorena, Trevor Bryan.
Not great
opponents, let's be honest. Where are they all now? Kevin Lorena, obviously, WBC Bruiserweight champ. And then before Usyk 2, Jarrell Miller, Filip Hrgovic, Anthony Joshua.
There's no.
But that is worse than Usyk's 3 best wins.
Tyson Fury, this is from a Queensbury perspective. That's how they're building it. Usyk's, on the other hand, like you said, is miles better. So you can't.
The first undisputed.
They're going to try and build it
like 30 odd years.
They're going to try and build it as 50-50. There's a puncher's chance.
I think it's a good fight.
It's a good fight, yeah. I think it will be close. I'm not super confident. I think
if Dubois lands on him, he's in trouble.
Whoever in the body,
whoever in Dubois' team was able to convince Dubois that first fight he should have won and he didn't quit and get him back to the point where he is now and the confidence to build up deserves such a big pay rise.
In a way, that fight was split into 2 fights with that low shot, whatever you want to call it, because he had 4 minutes rest and then Usyk was just something switched in his head and was like, I'm going to batter you now, mate. You've hit me low there.
But Dubois didn't batter him for those early rounds.
People are claiming that the shot was good, though. People were claiming, though, that the shot was good and then the referee allowed him to restart the fight in a way. Yeah, and you're thinking, come on.
If that ref starts counting, Usyk gets up.
Yeah. And he might have been stopped. We don't know. We never know that. But the point is, the punch was close enough. What we're talking about is the matters of centimetres is the difference. And if the ref calls it as a low blow, it's a low blow.
Do you know what I like, though? Through the build-up of this week, when the fight was announced, each team, Queensbury's got a different screenshot of where the punch landed to Usyk. And you're thinking,
it's a better
just forget
version
about
of
it
Dubois,
now.
though.
100%.
Yeah. That's what I was...
The other thing that's interesting is obviously that first fight with Usyk, he fought him in Poland, so he was more or less the away fighter.
Yeah.
In this one, he's the home fighter at Wembley. And I think will have quite a lot of backing to try and get it done.
Yeah, people love Usyk, but
100%.
Dubois is the Brit, and I think...
Imagine Dubois wins Undisputed.
Mental. It's like I said, though, whoever in his team was able to convince him that fight wasn't lost and that, you know, he does have to have the confidence, he didn't quit to a jab and all of these things, the narratives, and just being able to get him to the point where he is now. He is such a good fighter, such a dangerous fighter, one of the biggest hitters in boxing at the moment, and therefore can cause any man any great number of problems on any day. And I think he will cause Usyk more problems than Tyson Fury did, I think.
The other thing as well...
will it be enough? Because this is Alexander Usyk we're talking about.
That's the problem. How long can he keep the pressure on Usyk for before Usyk just drains you physically and emotionally, and then a bit like Tony Bellew.
Yeah.
Bellew was having success in that fight, and then out of nowhere he just gets flattened because Usyk's a smart. Out of all the boxers I've seen box, Usyk's by far up there as one of the best because he throws away rounds early in the fight because he takes in the information like we see with Canelo Alvarez. He takes rounds to work you out, and then once he works you out, then there's no going back, you know. And the success that perhaps Dubois would have early, when he gets into round 5, round 6, that success that he had is no more because then Dubois is all about surviving.
But then I don't even think he gives away the early.
He doesn't, not always.
I think the Fury.
I think the Fury first fight that he had against Fury, he did. But then the second fight...
he won the first 3 rounds of that fight.
What, Fury? Usyk
won the first 3 rounds of that fight, then Fury won the next,
But who started the
4 or 5.
From what I saw...
there was the round 9 when he bounced in pillar to post, and then he finished off the fight.
Imagine if we see that, though.
Yeah.
Dubois just bouncing around the ring.
Give probably Usyk 1, 2, 3, and then 8 through 12.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That was not a fight where he gave away the early rounds. He established himself really quick. Then Tyson Fury was immensely impressive in the way he was able to switch the momentum of that fight. And then Usyk re-wrestled control and switched it again.
I think Dubois is not going to outbox him. But Dubois got...
No. Dubois knows one way now after AJ's fight.
He's got one of the best jabs at heavyweight. And he's got... If he can land a big right hand, he causes issues for him.
I think with Dubois as well, it's all about talking yourself into it as well, because we've seen a lot of his career against Joyce where people said he quit and all, and the amount of confidence he's got now from that AJ win is probably out of this world, and the momentum he's going to have going into this fight is going to be incredible because he's going to have everyone around him telling him, you can get this done, you can beat him, and you know, we're going to probably predict Usyk's going to win and all that, and he's going to ignore that because Dubois doesn't go on social media. You see him in his fight camp, he's got like a Nokia
brick phone,
that you chuck away after the fight. Listen, I'm excited for it. And I'm trying to think, I can't remember a year where we've had so many stadium fights.
Yeah, we got a lot already.
You know, we've had Eubank Ben, we're having Wardley against
Miller.
Clown. We're having Simpson fighting for the European title up in Barnsley.
Terry Harper in Doncaster.
And then potentially there's another show with a certain promotion. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, so I won't say the name of the promotion.
Top tier? Yeah, that's been announced.
Okay, good. I don't want to get told off.
In a stadium fight.
And then obviously this fight, it's brilliant. And then we've got potentially 2 more come September time. British boxing at the moment is flying. And you look at all the different, American boxing at the moment is a bit quiet. British boxing's overtaking them by a mile.
At the moment, yeah. It definitely is.
And we're eating good. And as long as it continues, because I don't think it's going to last long for forever, all these good fights. I think it's going to get to a point where we're going to go back to the old of boxing where, we're not going to get these massive, massive nights. So I think it's all about, as much as we're going to...
enjoy it while you can.
Exactly. And we're going to talk about the fight saying it's not really competitive and all that. Let's just sit back, enjoy it, because we're getting treated so well.
Yeah.
And let's not be spoiled. We can always talk about, we could have this fight. Well, AJ Fury, we haven't had that. Just enjoy it. Whatever happens, I think. And especially this weekend, a lot of people are saying, Canelo Alvarez, William Scull. Like, oh my God. Hang on a minute. Undisputed fight.
Yeah.
If Riyadh season wasn't involved, this fight would not be made. Well, it could be made, but it probably wouldn't be made. And that undercard is great. And what I love about these cards, it's not just the main event. Normally in the past, the main event was the number one attraction. Throughout these cards, every single fight, it's great. And we're getting treated so well. And I think we're seeing it a lot now with the smaller promotions putting on good cards as well. GBM, top tier, they're putting on great cards because of the influence of the people above that, okay, this is how we have to, if we want to get to that level of promotion, we have to be like that. We have to put on competitive fights, and that's what we're seeing. And yeah, we're in dreamland at the moment, and long may it continue.
Absolutely. Big question though. Who wins? Usyk, Dubois, early predictions.
Usyk.
Confident of that?
Yeah.
I'm not confident in this one. I'm probably less confident than I was about the Fury fight for this one early on, just because I think
Usyk will.
No, I think Usyk is absolutely the favourite. I'm not saying that.
What's our YouTube channel called?
Yeah, exactly. The Puncher's Chance, and I think, but
Dubois stops him.
No.
Usyk's not.
Imagine that. Dubois stops him.
Usyk won't get caught.
Do you think Dubois has more of a chance than Fury?
No.
Do you not? I think if anyone can land shots that could make a dent in Usyk that will slow him down, currently, it's Dubois. I don't think he will do enough, but I think he's the most likely to in world boxing right now.
I don't think he'd get close enough to even land the shot. That's the issue. I don't think he could set it up. I don't think Usyk would allow him to set it up to the point where he could land it. I'm
not saying he lands that huge right hand, but to suggest he's going to go 12 rounds without landing anything.
Oh, he will land.
And I think if anyone has the capacity to slow Usyk down a bit, wear him down a bit, hurt him a bit, it's Dubois. And that's the best fight for me. I don't think Fury was ever going to really beat Usyk. From my point of view, the way I saw it, I know in theory he would, but I never saw that as an outcome. I wouldn't be shocked if Dubois was able to do enough in this one. I just don't think he will.
Usyk's so good that even when you land a shot, he can position himself where he just takes the damage off it.
I think Usyk welcomes it though as well, the big shots, because he's in a way. I mean this in the politest way. He's a boxing nerd. He loves everything about boxing, from taking the shots to giving the shots back out. And
I don't know if he welcomes it. You can't welcome a shot as a heavyweight because that's.
What I mean is though, if he gets hit with a big shot, he's like, yes, that's okay. That's what you got. Fair enough. Give me a couple more of them. Happy days. I think he's that sort of fighter that's. All right, welcome is probably the wrong word because that's putting your hands down. And come on, he's like he takes them well.
He does, he wears the shots well. Definitely, he does wear them well. But I don't know how you can say that the IBF world champ, that's the biggest hitter in the heavyweight division, couldn't cause him problems.
Well, he could if he lands.
Hang on.
I just don't think he lands.
Usyk.
Oh, okay.
That's what I said. I said I do think Usyk will win.
I'll make my early prediction.
But if anyone can
I just say, I would love nothing more than Daniel Dubois to be undisputed champion.
Can I be honest? I don't want him to.
Can you? No, but
I think he needs putting down a peg because he's
so. I don't know.
He's so
likable.
There's people behind him. I feel.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But do you know what? I would have much rather he came into this fight and went, yeah, I lost the first one, but I'm a better fighter now. I'm going to win this one, rather than trying to continue to peddle this.
Stop living in this
narrative.
I think there's people behind him who are just saying you need to say this, you need to do this in order.
But he's the heavyweight champion of the world. What they can see.
We've seen it so many times. He's not the best at giving interviews, is he?
No, I just think. I don't know.
That's what I mean, though. They're better off just leaving him be. Or he's just be, reserved. Just turn up, do your job.
Yeah.
That's what he used to do, though. And I think we've seen a different side of Dubois now where perhaps he's a little bit overconfident.
That's what I mean. That's why I think I'd be more than happy for Usyk to beat him. Just to sort of, calm down.
Usyk does beat him.
But we'll see. Usyk, That's the beauty of it. We're going to see it in July. That's not even that long away. 3 months.
Lovely.
Week after my birthday.
Get me to Wembley.
Absolute dream.
Do you know the annoying thing is I might be on holidays.
Oh, rookie.
And I'm gutted.
Rookie.
I'm gutted.
Cancel it now. Cancel the flights. Cancel the hotel.
I'd be cancelling it.
Well, after what happened with Spain and Portugal this week, it could be.
I've already been looking at Airbnbs to book
for Wembley. Fair enough.
Look at him. Living the life, living the dream.
Well, we'll get into this a little bit more, obviously, in a couple months' time when we get to preview it big time, and hopefully when we get some content maybe around that fight.
Undercard predictions, just quickly. One fight that you want to see on the undercard, I'll go for TKV against Adelaide. 2.
You want that on the undercard? Fair enough. I want Sam Noakes to get a shot on the undercard, a big fight.
Moses Atoma. Just
Yeah.
watch him spark someone out again.
Yeah, fair enough. Sounds like a plan. Let's make it happen. Other than that, thank you all for tuning in, as always, to the Puncher's Chance podcast. Episode, what is that, 106 now?
Yeah.
Thank you all for the journey so far. Subscribe if you haven't already, or follow us on Spotify if you prefer the audio versions. We're on all your favourite social medias as well, so follow us all on there. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you all next week.
The Puncher's Chance. Puncher's Chance podcast.